I'm talking with author Jeremy Varon today. Jeremy, I wonder if you'd like to comment on today, it being March the 6th, the 40th anniversary of the Townhouse.
Well, I mean, March the 6th is a sort of ambivalent day in the history of the New Left and struggles for social justice. It, of course, is the day that 3 members of the Weather Underground accidentally blew themselves up, preparing bombs allegedly to be used to bomb a dance of enlisted men and their dates at Fort Dix military base, New Jersey. The plot never was carried out, obviously, because 3 weathermen died in an accidental blast, and then thereafter the group went underground in a serious way. Some people in the organization wanted to elevate the struggle, do real damage to the war machine, shock and appall America, shock the conscience by engaging in an act of political murder. Others thought that path lay madness. There was enormous internal strife in the group about how to proceed tactically. In the wake of the bombing, the group forswore armed actions that had lethal intent, and thereafter engaged in bombings designed to damage property but not hurt human beings.
In your book, you say that if the New Left has a badge of honor, it's the fact that after the Townhouse they abandoned violence.
I mean, the question of honor and violence, it's obviously a very complicated one. You basically characterize my position correctly, though there's more nuance. I mean, I think what's exciting is that youth are mobilizing again for social justice struggles, particularly around the neoliberal austerity that's hitting America as our economy is in free fall, massive cutbacks in public education in the California system, Wisconsin system, Michigan system. Private universities are being affected dramatically. You have a whole generation of young people looking at their future, and it looks bleak. Their parents are in debt, they're in debt, they can barely afford their education, and there seem to be no jobs. And the political climate's dominated by fear, intolerance, suspicion of immigrants, the politics of the super rich, and there's obviously a spirited reaction against new circumstances. You see it on the left, you see a kind of panic reaction on the right with the Tea Party movement. So there's a lot of social ferment that's an obvious response to America in a state of profound decline. People, of course, look to the legacy of the 60s. Sit-ins and takeovers and building occupations have, a new presence within the repertoire of student activists. I think it's miles and miles until people get to the question of violence in a serious way as, a tactic for radical social transformation. I don't know that circumstances will ever make that question relevant again in the way it was in the 60s. But, what's to be encouraged now is youth mobilization, which has true principle, spirit behind it, and there's nothing more heartbreaking than hearing young people clamor, passionately advocate for their absolute fundamental right to be educated, especially in a country as rich as this one.
We're standing here today in the shadow of Mahatma Gandhi at Union Square, and can you tell me what you're doing here today?
I'm part of a group called Witness Against Torture that since 2005 has been working to shut down the detention facility at Guantanamo and forever end torture as a practice that our government engages in. We're having a bit of vigiling and street theater today. There's a crew from Al Jazeera English that's going to do a major story soon on the politics of Guantanamo and detention. It's obviously in the news very much these days. The issue sadly remains very urgent. Obama has failed on all of his essential promises around this. Guantanamo is still open. There's a plan for indefinite detention. There's no accountability for the architects of torture and those who executed torture policies. A lot of people feel understandably betrayed by a president who came into office with enormous promise and enormous goodwill and has squandered the support of some of his most passionate advocates. So, we're doing what we can to prevent a bad situation from getting even worse.
And where can people find your book?
In principle, in a bookstore near you. Academic titles often aren't sold in commercial bookstores, but most, progressive and radical bookstores have them. St. Mark's Books, that kind of thing, and then, Blue Stockings Books, here in New York City. So if you want it online, I would much rather have you order it through an independent bookstore so they get the overhead and not Amazon.com.